I feel like something is wrong with this plane, so there must be. I feel like my partner is cheating on me. There's no smoke without fire. I feel like I'm going to have a panic attack. Do thoughts like these sound familiar? These are all examples of emotional reasoning. Emotional reasoning is one of several types of thinking errors which are common in people who suffer with anxiety, and emotional reasoning can play a big part in your anxiety. So in this video I'm going to explain why and what you can do about it. Emotional reasoning is when you draw conclusions based on how you feel rather than any facts. And the problem with emotional reasoning is it often results in you taking action that supports the feeling, which makes the feeling even stronger. We will look in a moment at why this happens. Emotional reasoning is common in phobias and anxiety disorders like panic disorder, generalised anxiety disorder and social anxiety. Let me give you an example of emotional reasoning in practice. Before I did my training and learned how to overcome it, I had a really bad flying phobia. Before I'd even got on the plane, I'd worked myself up into a very anxious state. On the plane, I just got the feeling that something was wrong. I had the feeling that the plane was going to be hijacked. Now, the chances of that happening were very remote, and there was nothing to suggest that this flight from Toronto to Ottawa was a likely terrorist target. But that didn't matter because I felt that something was wrong. It was emotional reasoning. So I felt I had to do something to protect myself, so I started watching all the passengers for any suspicious behaviour. When you do something like this, it puts the fear circuits in the brain into a much higher state of alert, which means you feel even stronger emotions. Soon I spotted someone acting suspiciously. This guy had had his hands in his bag for a very long time, or at least it seemed long, probably because my mind was racing. My emotional reasoning kicked in again. I felt that he must be a terrorist, so he was probably assembling a gun inside his bag. Again, no evidence, but my emotional reasoning convinced me a hijacking was about to take place. Why couldn't anyone else see it? I won't tell the full story as I'm a bit embarrassed about it, and I told it in my flying phobia video. But suffice to say, the plane was not hijacked, and thankfully a kind Canadian lady next to me managed to reassure me that a hijacking on a domestic Canadian flight was very unlikely. But if you suffer panic attacks, see if you can notice any parallels with my flying phobia story. How often do you say to yourself, I feel like I'm going to have a panic attack? Whereas I watched other people for signs of danger, you probably watch yourself. You might start monitoring your breathing or heart rate. You might start loosening your collar or using a fan or water to cool yourself. So again, your emotional reasoning has caused you to take actions which puts your brain into a higher state of alert. And that is what a panic attack is. It's an extreme state of alert. Of course, in a panic attack, there are lots of scary physical symptoms which make you feel like something is seriously wrong. You may know that you've had many before, but in the midst of a panic attack, you start thinking, I feel like it's a heart attack this time. I feel like I'm going to die. So you take more action and look to be rescued. Maybe you call the emergency services. Like many other thinking errors, emotional reasoning can affect relationships. Just because you feel like your partner is cheating on you doesn't mean that they are. And if you accuse them based on how you feel, or flimsy evidence which has been distorted through the lens of your emotions, then they are likely to become very upset. So what can you do when these feelings are so powerful it feels like they must be facts? First, learn to spot it. Whether you are saying it or just thinking it, look out for words like I feel or I sense. When you spot it, observe it. How strong is the feeling? Rate it from 1 to 10. Where do you feel it in your body? What's your body doing? Is it tensing? What part is tensing? Just accept this feeling and the thoughts that come with it. In fact, why not play with it? Show it that you're not scared of it. What's the worst thing that can happen? Make it ridiculous. Maybe if it's the thought that your partner is having an affair, make that affair with someone famous or someone completely daft. You'll be surprised how a bit of humour can bring you back to reality. Of course, your immediate urge will be to try to neutralise the feeling and the thoughts that accompany it. So you'll either want to take action or suppress it. But don't do either, just wait. This feeling will pass, but it will only pass if you don't act on it. Practice this, time it, see how long it takes. After a couple of minutes, re-rate the feeling. You will usually find that it is reduced. And the longer you wait without acting on it, the more the strength of that feeling will reduce. Another thing that can help is coping cards. I've made a whole video on this subject, which I have linked above. On your coping card, you write something like, feelings are not facts. or I know this feeling will pass, or any of the tips that I'm giving you in this video. Also, step outside of yourself for a moment. What would the calm you say to reassure you that the thoughts and feelings are not reality? Maybe I should have done this when I was panicking on that aeroplane. So I hope this video has helped you. Let me know in the comments below about your own emotional reasoning. And if you suffer from panic attacks, check out my panic attack playlist here. Or if you suffer from generalised anxiety disorder, check out my GAD playlist here.